It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott's here. Mary Jo Foley's here. Mary Jo admits Paul was right. Here come the Windows 11 apps. Super-Duper Secure Mode for Edge, Xbox Cloud, gaming, and a whole lot more. It's all coming up next on Windows Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley, episode 737, recorded Wednesday, August 11th, 2021. Super-Duper Secure Mode. This episode of Windows Weekly is brought to you by Hover. Whether you're a developer, photographer, or small business, Hover has something for you to expand your projects and get the visibility you want. Go to hover.com/twit to get 10% off your first purchase of any domain extension for the entire first year. And by Akamai. Akamai is the world's largest distributed edge compute platform. To deliver and protect your digital experiences worldwide, tap into Akamai for its unrivaled intelligence, performance, and scalability. Visit akamai.com/ww today to learn more. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show where we get together and talk about everything Microsoft. Joining us from Mexico City, Mr. Paul Thurrott at Thurrott.com. Hello, Paul. I've been watching your Instagram. You've been having such a good time with Stephanie in Mexico City. You enjoying it?
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful here.
You went to San Miguel de Allende.
Yep.
And then Guanajuato, and now you're in Mexico City. Also here, she's in New York City, which is almost as big as Mexico City. Actually,
Almost.
I think Mexico City might be a little bigger. It's a very big
I
city.
think it might be much bigger. I think it's the biggest city in North America.
Yeah,
pretty
it's
sure.
Wow.
huge. So in that little burg we call New York City, Manhattan, Mary Jo Foley from allaboutmicrosoft.com, her ZDNet blog. Hello, you two.
What's the rural life like, Mary Jo?
Yeah, right. Small town.
Oh man, I know. I feel like I'm a little backwater now that you've said that.
Mexico City's population is 8.8 million, so it's just a little bit bigger. I think New York City's 7, right?
I don't know.
Well, 12, I think.
Never mind.
Well, no, but if you include the metro area, because Mexico City is humongous. I actually think it's over 20 million. I think
in the general area, it's huge.
Yeah.
But Paul's in the heart of Mexico City, and that's why, by the way, he sounds a little bit thinner than normal, because he hasn't been eating. No, because he's on his laptop mic, because we had technical difficulties, including a bag soaked by an air conditioner. I'm sorry.
We don't have enough time for me to go through all of the problems we've had. But yeah, we had an air conditioner dump water on a bag that had 2 laptops, 2 phones, my passports, my COVID card, my global entry card. So most of it's fine. The laptop I would have preferred using for this call because it has a better mic and a much better camera is I have to, when I get home, I'm going to open it up, detach the battery. I think that will probably fix it okay, but I can't do that here, and it's just...
Hey, we're thrilled you're on, I know.
If
it were me, I'd just say, screw them. Let them do the show without me. So, good. And you said, and it was interesting, I read, and by the way, if you're not a premium subscriber to Thurrott.com, highly recommend it. I read your post there about how you were a little disappointed with the information you had received.
Yeah, we originally planned. Well, we were always going to stay in San Miguel de Allende. We were going to go to Querétaro as well, and we did, and we're going to go to Guanajuato. These places, it's hard to find people you can trust with regards to places to go, things to do here. And we bought some books; they were okay. We watched a lot of YouTube videos. A lot of young people walking around with selfie sticks, just talking as they walk. They don't have no idea what they're talking about. They're like, "Here's some church. I don't know what it's called."
I hate influencers. They've ruined everything.
They really have. And the reason you would watch them is you do want to see the thing, the place, the whatever. And there's a real gap for that kind of knowledge, I guess, or that kind of expertise.
I try to watch videos by locals. when I go somewhere. And there are YouTube videos, I'm sure, from people who live in Mexico City or San Miguel. Problem with San Miguel is it's a haven for expats, right?
Oh, God. If you're looking for blonde people smoking cigars and talking English, the middle of San Miguel is perfect. But honestly,
it's been discovered. It was a really quaint, beautiful town that got discovered, and unfortunately,
it's still beautiful. I think if you wanted to be there, you'd be better off going out into away from the city center, which is just full of people.
You went to Guanajuato. You like that, right?
Oh, Guanajuato is the most chaotic, beautiful thing I've ever seen. I loved it there. I loved it.
It's a beautiful mess. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is a beautiful mess. That's exactly right.
Nice. Well, I'm so glad. And if you don't follow Thurrott, Thurrott on Instagram, do, and go back in time to look at all the food they are eating. Even the truck stop lunch looks incredible.
That was the great. So that was literally halfway between Querétaro and Mexico City. There is nothing, literally nothing, but there is that truck stop. And we said, well, it looks like an okay restaurant. We'll try this. It was one of the best meals we've ever had. It was crazy.
So great.
It was amazing. And I said,
great.
I'm like, I never thought I would take a picture of food at a truck stop, but it came out and I said, oh my God, I gotta take a picture of it.
I hope you like Mexican food. That's all I can say.
Love Mexican food, yeah.
Actually, my son's TikTok today is making the thing you had.
Oh, yeah?
It's a chicken roll up with a green sauce, with a tomatillo sauce. It looks exactly like what you're having.
Yeah, chile verde.
Chile verde, yeah.
Salsa verde.
Yeah. He made it with tomatillos, and it was incredible. Anyway, that's salt_Hank. I'll give him a little plug on the TikTok.
Throw some chunks of avocado in there to throw it over the top.
Yeah, he did that. Yep.
They served it in a saucer in a breakfast restaurant. I ate it with a spoon. I was like, this is one of the best things I have ever eaten.
Oh, man, that's right. Well, when do you come back?
I think a week from Thursday or a week from Friday.
Good.
Yeah, we're here for another
it.
week. So our kids are arriving tomorrow. So we're going to show them around the city, and we'll take them out to the pyramids, and we'll do the little canal cruise thing, and
nice.
All the all the tourist stuff.
Compare this to what you were eating. I think it's pretty similar, actually.
It's definitely shredded chicken. And,
yeah. Look at that. Oh yeah. A little avocado on the top, little tomatillo sauce, and then they pour it on the top. It looks very much like what you had at the truck stop.
It does.
Yeah.
He's doing truck stock. I love the tomatillo, so that's.
And you got to serve everything with lime. You can never have too much lime.
Everything's got lime on it. I know. I'm sorry. Now I'm getting really hungry. All right, we should talk about Windows.
No, sorry. It's
oh man,
there's something wonderful happening here from a food perspective.
It's incredible. And I'm of course I'm a little interested because I'm going. Lisa and I are going down next month, or 2 months, to visit Mike and Amira. They're doing their gastronomad in Oaxaca for the Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead.
Oh, by the way, speaking of which, there's a thing happening here this week. It's either today, tomorrow, or the next day, but something. It's the 500th anniversary of the founding of Mexico City, and then I think the 200th anniversary of the Mexican independence from the Spanish or something. But there's going to be some gigantic. I think that's Zocalo is going to be full of people.
Oh my gosh, you're going to have a great time.
And our Airbnb is about a block and a half from there. It's going to be kind of interesting, yeah.
So you did Airbnbs, not an exchange this time. I guess you couldn't, could you?
Yeah, we didn't do it. We've done an Airbnb in San Miguel, hotel for a couple of days here, just between Airbnbs. And then when the kids, I'm losing track of what's what. I guess after the show, actually, we can go get the Airbnb here, and then we'll be in there through the end of the stay.
All right, let's talk about Windows.
We probably should.
Probably should. I don't know. I could talk about travel all the time.
I know. And food. Travel and
three
food.
of us are travel and food junkies. Exactly. Exactly.
Well, that's, by the way, just one quick thing before we move on. One thing you realize if you travel a lot is that you have to just be okay with this. Food is one of the biggest reasons to travel.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds like a gluttonous, weird thing to say, but it really is a primary component of travel.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Lisa always says she wants to see something, eat something.
Mm-hmm. The best thing to do is eat something while you're seeing something.
Yeah, we love the history, and I think that's another reason. And photography is great. Yeah. And now, what are you taking your pictures with, Paul? Just one more question.
It's a Samsung something that my wife has. It's like a
it's S21.
I think it's no, it's not that new. I think it might be an S20 or a Note 20, one of the two.
Looks really good. Yeah.
The pictures are fantastic.
Why not your phone? What are you borrowing her phone for?
Because my phone only has. I have a Pixel 4a 5G, so it's a standard lens and wide angle, but not zoom. And the one thing I miss when I don't have it is the zoom stuff.
Yeah.
And I might change it up still. The phone thing has been a huge problem. I hope Google figures this out with the Google 6 because I really want all three. And
that is the one thing that a dedicated camera does better than a camera phone is that various focal lengths, particularly zoom. And that is the one thing I miss and it's why I still carry a camera with me, frankly.
Right.
All right, Windows 11. I'm sorry. And that's our show, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. We're done.
Adios, everybody.
Adios. Back to Mexico City. Windows. Okay, you say Microsoft is working to undo its UWP mistake with its own apps. Explain, if you would, please.
So first, I have to start this segment out by saying something I don't say that often.
Yes.
Paul was right.
Wow. And could you say that again for my voice recording machine on the phone?
Here's why. Okay, here's why I'm saying that. So remember last week we were talking about that weird Pane tweet where he said, yeah, we're working on this new snipping tool. And the last thing Paul said about it was, you know what they're doing? They're undoing all their UWP apps and they're redoing them as Windows 11, Win32 apps using React and WebView. And Paul, you were correct.
He said, it's the reunion?
WinUI 3.
WinUI. Yep. WinUI.
Okay.
So, that's what they're doing with the new snipping tool, right? They're going to take away the snip and sketch that was a UWP app, and they're going to take that functionality and put it back into the existing snipping tool and call it a new snipping tool.
Right. And just for people.
New icon, right? But same functionality, but written as a reunion app. Is it Project Reunion? Is that
it's not rewritten. It's the desktop app, and then you add the new UI to it, so you can keep the code base, but kind of modernize it.
Yeah.
Yep. And you can add some of the functionality of the other app that they were going to make the new snipping tool back into this app as they redo it.
And by the way, you quickly mentioned OneNote there, and we'll get to that one second. But OneNote has its own weird trajectory where they were going to turn it into a modern app, and then it completely backstep. And that's what happened with Snipping Tool. They were going to replace it with Snip and Sketch, which was the UWP app. And now they're going back to the Win32 Snipping Tool and adding that WinUI front end to it, which modernizes it.
Yep. So this isn't the only app they're doing this with, right? OneNote. Last week, there was probably one of the more confusing, and that's a high bar or a low bar.
For
one of the most confusing OneNote posts that we've had in a while, which is, you know what, guys, we're gonna fix all these things we've been doing with OneNote. We know we switched directions a few times. We know we have 2 apps right now. I actually think they have more than 2 OneNote Windows apps. I think they also they really have 3, right? They have the existing legacy OneNote that's still around, the OneNote desktop app. Then they've got what do they call these things? The names are so confusing. OneNote for Windows, right? For Windows 10.
Yeah.
Right. It's called OneNote for Windows 10. And then they've got one that's also another OneNote app that's in Windows, right?
That's in Windows. Oh, I don't know.
I know.
I think
so the naming is so confusing on this. So there's the legacy OneNote, like OneNote 2016, OneNote 2019, that some people really want to continue using because it has all the functionality and there is a way to keep using that desktop app, right?
Right.
Then there is the OneNote app for Windows, and then there's OneNote for Windows 10.
Sure. There's also a web client too, if you really want to mix it up.
I know. Yeah. So there's at least 3, if not 4 OneNote apps. The idea they have is let's make one. That's a great idea, right? And so the way they're going to do it is they're going to kill the one that is OneNote well, they're going to call it OneNote on Windows, right? Yeah, because you need one more name.
So I had Microsoft is so confusing. In the article I wrote about this, I just to be clear while you're discussing these things, I called it OneNote Desktop just to distance itself from OneNote 2016, OneNote for Windows 10. It's confusing.
It's very confusing. So the one that is OneNote for Windows 10 is the Store app, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good way to think of it. OneNote for Windows 10 is the Store app. That's going to go away, and they're going to take the some of the more fun and interesting features, or however they put that, from that into the other OneNote app, and they're going to mush it all together and make a new OneNote app. But as their post says, it's not actually a new third OneNote app. It's actually the old OneNote app with just some rejiggering and things happening to it. Yeah.
Actually, the snipping tool comparison works, right? Because it is the legacy desktop app, and they've decided just to kind of modernize it.
Exactly.
But the history of this, by the way, is that in 2018, Microsoft announced they were getting rid of OneNote 2016. 2019, they announced they were bringing it back, and they were going to add features to it that they had previously added only to OneNote for Windows 10.
Yep.
But they didn't. They were going to maintain both. So the change here is now they're getting rid of OneNote for. Well, they're not going to add any more new features, right? You'll still be able to get it in the store. Maybe someday it disappears, but the new features now will only be added to this what I call OneNote Desktop, right? And I don't know if you caught this, Mary Jo, but it's not in the post. But people asked about it, and because again they can't communicate effectively. But if you prefer the new UI in OneNote for Windows 10, which is a simplified ribbon, which I very much prefer, you actually are going to be able to toggle that on, apparently. They don't say that in the post, but supposedly you can go between a full ribbon. Full ribbon can be hidden, right? So you just have the tabs, which I kind of like too. Or you can have a supposedly, this is, again, it's not in the post, but what I've heard from people is people contacted Microsoft and they said, no, you'll be able to toggle between the UIs. So
good. That's good.
That's good.
Okay. So if you are somebody on OneNote for Windows 10, the Store app, and you want to see what this new app is going to be all about, they're advising you to wait until the second half of 2022 to get an invitation asking you to be part of the group for the new unified OneNote app. They're saying it would be better if you don't just jump the gun and do this ahead of time. People will, right?
Don't be a seeker.
Yeah. But that's the goal. And then at some point, well, actually we know the date. In October 2025, which is the date that Windows 10 is no longer supported, the OneNote app for Windows 10 also will no longer be supported. So you have, if you really like the OneNote for Windows 10 Store app, you can keep using it until October 2025, and then it's going to go away.
Now,
this post, I'm telling you, this post is so confusing. Anybody who cares about OneNote, you should go read Microsoft's post because there are a lot of twists and turns. There's an FAQ. There are a bunch of nuances, and I read it like 4 times, and I still felt like I didn't understand it. I was joking with somebody on Twitter. They're like, "How are you going to explain this on Windows Weekly?" I said, "I think I'm going to have a beer before the beer pick of the week."
See, my answer to that would have been poorly because it is very hard to explain.
It is. Yeah.
Now, do you know? Tell me if you know this bit, because I'm kind of guessing just based on the way things work.
Okay.
OneNote, what used to be OneNote 2016, the desktop version of OneNote, after they decided to re-support it, so to speak, they brought it back into the suite that you download when you get it from Microsoft 365. So even if you're using OneNote for Windows 10, if you have a Microsoft 365 subscription, and that's how you got Office onto your computer, you should also have what will just be called OneNote in the start menu, which is stupid. But and I believe if you go into, this is what I'm guessing if you go into one of the primary Office apps and switch over to the Office Insider Beta channel, maybe that's how you can sample some of these new features and changes as they happen over the next year or so. Maybe. Is that correct? Or do you know if that's correct?
I don't know about that. They said they're going to tell us more as time goes on. This was just meant to be kind of the bombshell post, like, hey, look what we're going to do to OneNote. And there are a lot of unanswered questions that they say they'll tell us more about as they go forward. So here are the things that are not affected by this. OneNote for Mac.
Oh, no.
OneNote. This is about OneNote for Windows. This is what this post and what we're talking about here, right? Just to keep it even more confusing. Yeah.
I'm sorry to make you do that again, but we lost the entire list of the OneNotes that are not affected. We got OneNote for Mac is the last thing we heard.
OneNote for Mac, OneNote for Android, OneNote for iOS, OneNote for the web are not affected.
Right. Okay. So just Windows, basically.
Just Windows. Yeah. Yeah.
Microsoft has such a rich history of multiple apps that do the same thing.
I know.
Dating back to, I just forgot his name, the guy from Lotus.
Didn't they say, Ray Ozzie. Didn't they say they're kind of unifying Outlook as well? Oh, I'm sorry. That's later. I'll save that for later.
It keeps going, Leo.
There's more.
I mean, by the way, it will keep going. I think between now and October, we're going to hear about much more of this kind of stuff.
So you think they're just going to replace all the UWP apps with Project Reunion?
Over time, absolutely.
You know what? I keep joking about I don't think Windows 11 is that different from Windows 10. It's pretty comparable, pretty easy to make the switch. You know what's way more exciting? Them fixing all these apps. That's way...
I couldn't agree more. And by the way, if you happen to prefer Windows 10 and want to stick with it for a few years, those apps should all apply to Windows 10 too. I can't imagine they wouldn't. I think you'll get all the new apps.
I know. And that's why they can't call it OneNote for Windows 11 or Outlook for Windows 11, right? Because it's going to work on Windows 10 also.
It's just the new Outlook and the new OneNote and the new.
Right.
Yeah.
And it really isn't that new even. It's just the technology stack is different.
This is marketing. It's completely new. It's new with
it's not a third new app, as they said in the post.
It's going to confuse people because they're going to say, okay, I don't see.
I know.
From the developer point of view, it's new. It's a new stack.
Yeah.
Right.
But from the user's point of view, they're not. Are they? I mean,
honestly, this is classic Microsoft. It's what it is an old stack with something new on top of it, right? It is the literal definition of Windows, an archeological dig of APIs that date back decades,
Oh, geez. So it's just the UI that is now React Native or something like that.
WinUI.
WinUI.
Well, it depends on the app. So with OneNote, because OneNote is OneNote's been around for almost 20 years, right? Didn't it? I want to say it debuted in 2003, possibly. And so probably was in certain versions of Office 2003, if my memory serves, but we'll say it's somewhere between 15 and 18 years old. So that application, because of its age, is just as legacy a desktop app as anything in Office. And I don't know that they're adding WinUI. I don't know that that's how they're doing it. I mean, in some ways, the actual technology they're using sort of doesn't matter. But then again, they probably are, right? But we could get into a situation where you use the normal ribbon, the legacy ribbon, I guess we'll call it, and you're using a Win32 component. And if you switch over to the simplified ribbon, maybe that's a WinUI bit. I really don't know, how they're doing it.
Yeah.
Huh.
Big and heavy.
And new features or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
so there are some new features.
So, they're saying there will be some new features beyond just taking the old features and moving them over, right?
Right. Yeah. But that bit too is very vague, and that's very vague. When Microsoft is very vague, you can this is a little clue for people who read my stuff. I'll always put it in quotes because I don't want you to think I came up with this nonsense. There was a list of productivity enhancements and yada 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 that were all very vague. So. Yes, they're promising there will be new features. Of course there will be. I mean, every time there's a new version of an app, you're going to get new features.
Right. They said in the post, besides the visual refresh, new pen and inking features, new navigational UI layout options that can be customized, and more. More.
There you go. And I bet if you look at my post, that's the part I put in quotes. So the new UI navigation or whatever that was is probably alluding to the thing I said, which someone else told me, which is that you'll be able to choose between what I'm calling now the legacy ribbon and the simplified ribbon, or maybe some brand new UI that I happen to like the WinUI 3/Project Reunion style. I don't know what you call it, like a command bar or toolbar or whatever, like you see in Snipping Tool, the new one that's coming. And I kind of joked about how you may be seeing, or maybe not joke, but maybe you'll be seeing that in Notepad. You will be seeing it in Paint.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it looks modern and nice, and however it's built, I mean, I kind of don't really care, honestly, but it's a nice look, and I think some kind of consistent look of that style across apps would be a good decision on their part.
Yeah, as far as Notepad goes, I always say this. I don't care if they change how it looks as long as it stays really simple. They don't add a bunch of junk to it, right? Like, just keep it simple. This is what Notepad is. It's supposed to be simple.
And Mary Jo, if they screw it up, I have an app I can give you that I wrote.
I know.
And it's always going to be simple. PaulPad will never get complicated.
I can promise you it will never be complex. That I can promise you.
It's frozen in time.
Actually, right now it is frozen in time.
I used to, when Laura Butler was running OneNote, I used to say to her, why can't there be a OneNote Lite? Why can't there be something that's like OneNote, but like simpler?
Lighter than?
She was like, no, Mary Jo, that's Notepad, right? Like, that's...
Well, for whatever it's worth, I think I mentioned this. Did I mention this last week? OneNote was investigating that exact concept.
They were, right?
Because
I know.
They really were. And again, but what do we need? Look, you have to have one thing, and that's the problem. And
I know.
If you can have a mode of OneNote that's simpler, I think I would use that in a heart. That's the reason. I literally right now I'm looking at OneNote for Windows 10, and the reason is it's a simpler looking and just a simpler app. And all I need is text, headers, and links. That's all I need. Yep. Simple.
I mean, to be fair, there are plenty of third-party apps. I use something called Obsidian, which is just a really nice note-taking app that probably would be better than OneNote for you, Mary Jo, anyway.
Yeah. The problem for me with OneNote is it does everything. It's the SharePoint of note-taking apps, right? Like it does every single thing in the world.
Yeah,
that is exactly what it is.
It's kind of a natural tendency for these. That's what happened to Evernote, remember? And it killed Evernote, frankly.
Yep.
Mary Jo and I, just to give you a bit of insight into our terrible lives, is, every week almost we struggle with, because we share the notes. We both contribute to the notes. You're supposed to be able to be in there together like some science fiction movie, but we have learned many times not to ever do that.
Oh, really?
And so one of us will start the notes, and then the other person will realize the other person started the notes, and they'll say thank you for the notes, and it's okay for you to get in. It's safe. I will not touch it, because otherwise you get these conflicts
that
you have to resolve, and it's like it's
multi-user is always hard. That's a tough thing.
They claim OneNote co-authoring works beautifully. I've had so many people say to me, I don't see why you have a problem with this. It works for me. And I'm like, well, I don't know, but it does. Every week we try this and it doesn't work.
Leo can see this for himself. We have notes dating back, I believe, to 2011. So we have an incredible volume of notes.
Rich.
And it has never worked well. Never. No.
Okay.
But we use it. We rely on it.
So see that the hard one is the collaboration feature, because I bet you everything else is fine, right?
It does too many things.
Collaboration's hard. You're right. You're right. As soon as you see the ribbon, it's like, oh, I don't need all that.
I know.
I don't need all that.
It's like you can cut and paste images in here, but I never can get that to work. I've tried that. I'm like, nah, it doesn't really work. And we know the table issue. Remember the table issue from a couple weeks ago? Like, you just suddenly do things in OneNote, and you're like, I don't know how I just did this, but like suddenly.
I'm surprised. We got so much help from people, and not that we necessarily needed it, because honestly, the point isn't that we're not trying to master this tool, guys. I don't want to know about this stuff. I'm surprised someone didn't send us OneNote for Dummies or something. But
I know, right?
The truth is, you want to get in, get your thing done, and get out. And even an application like Microsoft Word, I mean, I feel weird saying this, but obviously I'm a professional writer. I've been writing, professionally for 25 years plus. Mary Jo for even longer. I turn off the ribbon. I hide the ribbon, and every once in a while you have to get in the ribbon for certain things, whatever it might be. But I want to get that mess out of the way. And if you could somehow understand how many commands were in Word, I use approximately 3% of them, and probably less.
Microsoft says that. Everybody uses. The problem is they all use a different 3%.
But what I would like to have for work, because if I could just do it once and get away with it, I would do this: is turn off everything that I don't need, and then have it save that as a configuration, so that every time I came back to Word, I saw my Word. But they don't let you do that. If you go to the trouble of doing that and then install Word on a different computer or whatever, it just goes back to Word.
Yeah.
They don't do that.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's why I like the simpler OneNote for Windows 10, because it really is a subset, both visually and functionally. That's all I need. It's more than it's actually even that app is more than I need.
I am going to make the entire OneNote a table right now.
Yep.
Excellent.
Did you talk about focus sessions with Spotify integration yet? What's that?
No.
Oh, so here's another thing Panos teased this week, because he's kind of teasing out the Windows 11 apps and what they've been working on, right? So he shows this little clip of something called Focus Sessions. So what it looks like is a way to take your to-do list and your calendar integrated with Spotify and have like your own little dedicated piece of time carved out where if you want to play music and use it as a focus background, you can do that. So it's going to be something that lets, again, they're targeting creators, right? Creators really focus in, and it goes beyond Focus Assist as far as turning off notifications, but lets you carve out a spot in your calendar when you can have dedicated work time. And if you want, play music during that time.
I mean, I will say as a writer, the last thing I want to listen to is anything when I'm writing. I can't listen to stuff, people talking, music playing. I can't.
Even instrumental, like just instrumental. Like
it's just too distracting
Baroque
for me.
Music.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, it's basically just a timer, and it's in a weird place because it's in what is today, what's it called? I think it's called in Windows 10, it's called the Alarms and Clock app. It is, by the way, a UWP app. In Windows 11, I think it's just going to be called Clock. And they're adding a new view to the navigation bar. So in addition to timer, alarm, world clock, and so forth, you're going to get a focus. I think what's it called? Focus. What is it called? Focus session.
Focus session. Yeah, focus
and
session.
You'll say, maybe I want an hour of uninterrupted time. I'll have this Spotify playlist I love that will be playing in the background. Which, by the way, if you aren't paying for Spotify, will have ads, which I would find distracting, but whatever. And you have to know to even look for that, right? I mean, I don't know. Right. And I mean, I'm sure they'll promote it with little ads and stuff, but interesting. I don't know. Yeah. I don't think I'll ever use that, but it's interesting.
Me neither. It's not the way I work, but a lot of people were very excited about it.
Well, I think a lot of people actually do listen to music when they work, right? And you'll have someone with a nice pair of headphones, and they are a Spotify subscriber, and that's what they do. And great. I mean, I just can't. I can't do it myself.
A lot of programmers have to wear headphones because they're stuck in those open offices.
Yeah. I know.
Those horrible open offices.
I have some thrash metal playlists I can recommend for this. The people around you won't hear the music, but they'll feel the building shaking.
Yeah.
So do you both listen? You both type write in silence? Is that your preferred mode?
So you know what's funny? When I was writing my book, I would go sometimes for distraction to a coffee shop. Yeah. And I like the white noise.
You see a lot of people writing in coffee shops. A lot of them.
I like that there's conversation and noise that I am not paying attention to at all and is in the background. But if somebody right next to me is having a conversation and I can't not listen to it, then it's a problem.
Yeah. You just want hum.
You need noise canceling earbuds or something.
Yeah, I have.
Actually, you just reminded me. The first book I wrote, which 1993, 1994, I listened to on repeat. It was on DVD. The Offspring. The name of the album is Smash. It's probably their biggest album of all. Maybe their biggest, whatever. So
but you had it memorized, so your brain didn't take.
Oh, I know the words to every single song on that album still today. But I don't. Maybe it's an age thing. I don't know. But at some point, I can't remember ever doing that with any other writing project or anything. It was a long time ago.
Yeah. I'll listen to classical music. There's a lot of music for coding, that is kind of EDM kind of stuff.
CDs,
it's like
there's some good new age music, David Lanz or David Arkenstone or that kind of stuff. Yeah, but I prefer silence.
I work better. I when I'm at home, I am in silence. I don't play the radio or anything of music.
Occasionally.
This is why my father won't stay with me anymore, because I complain to him too much. He's so loud. And he says, he's like, man, you really like it quiet. And I said, yeah, Dad, I'm actually really trying to work.
It's such a reverse. Knock off that rock and roll, Dad. I'm more.
Well, he's just a deaf, obnoxious old guy. But,
All right, let me take a little break. We can go on with the foldable apps because Samsung had a little event this morning.
Oh, and we want to talk about Outlook too before.
Oh, right.
I thought we did. Oh, yeah. No. You want to do that now? That's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, I could do a quick thing on.
Doesn't have to be quick.
So this is going to be another one of these specialized apps that Microsoft's redoing. Right? We know it's codenamed Project Monarch. It's a new combined mail calendar client. And it's part of the whole one Outlook plan that Microsoft has, instead of having all these different Outlooks plus mail and calendar in Windows, to just have this one thing that is Outlook, right? And it's going to be everywhere.
It sure is. Like COVID.
It is. Yeah, like COVID kind of, right? Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be the replacement for all the different flavors of Outlook, we think, like the Windows desktop one, so Win32, UWP, Intel ARM, Outlook Web Access, Mac OS desktop, like all these things that are all the variants of Outlook that you have today, plus the built-in mail and calendar app in Windows, all get replaced by this thing. So Windows Central wrote about this back in January, and I'm starting to hear little bits and pieces bubble up about this. So I'm like, oh, maybe they're ready to start testing this fairly soon.
I hope so.
Windows Central thought we'd get a beta of this before the end of the year, so maybe panels will start teasing this pretty soon. Look, here's another one.
I'm sorry. Outlook is in a tough spot to me on Windows because the Win32 client, the classic one that dates back to Schedule Plus in the late 1990s, is one of the biggest, heaviest Teams like clients there is in the world. And I know there are people out there that love it, and please, dear God, don't email me. And then there's the mail and calendar client. Actually, calendar's fine. Calendar's kind of a simple thing, but the mail client in Windows 10 is a disaster. And surely there's some happy middle ground between these two solutions. And I'm really hoping that this one Outlook app, meets that sweet spot or whatever.
Yeah. Kev Brewer's posted this link to Project Monarch. Is that what you're talking about?
That's it. Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So, I hate Outlook because it is it's exactly the same problem. It's just got too many things going on. You know what the sentence is?
The sentence is, I hate Outlook because I've used it.
I do, but I talk to people all the time who love it. Yeah. I mean, I'm fairly open in my hatred for it, but people always say, oh, no, it's great. It's great.
I like
I know. I get the same feedback.
See? Yeah.
I know.
To me, it's more of the hairball PST file that bothers me, that everything's jammed.
Yeah. From day one, this thing was designed as a Microsoft Mail client. That's what it was and is,
Yeah.
And as we kind of move
Exchange, not IMAP or POP or anything else.
That's right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So when you move forward in time, obviously there's some support for IMAP. You can add IMAP.
It supports it.
Yeah, but it's garbage.
But begrudgingly.
Right. And the internet happened right after the first version of Outlook was released, Outlook 97. So they released an Outlook 98 client really quickly, kind of out of band with Office, to add support for internet email. It's never been right. And as we move forward now to what we'll call cloud accounts, Gmail, even Yahoo still, or whatever, it supports them, but it supports them with like air quotes, like it's garbage. And so if you're purely in the Microsoft world, and I suspect that's your experience, Mary Jo, client does work fine. It even probably performs well. It has all these extra features you'll never want, but you can hide the ribbon, and it has it's the only desktop app that has a simplified ribbon. So that stuff's there. But if you need, I feel like the most of the world isn't as in that Microsoft world.
I know. And, I understand.
And it's just terrible for everything else, And that's my problem, because whether I want to or not, I'm stuck using Google stuff.
Right.
And it does not work.
But you do like Outlook Web Access, right? Like you like that one, right?
Yeah, and the reason that is fine for me is because it's literally only accessing email from that one account. It's by nature Exchange based, whatever it is, Exchange in the cloud now. And yes, I like the look of it. I like the way it works. I wish you could add. Well, they're experimenting with this, right? In Outlook.com, you can add a Gmail account to it. That works very poorly, actually, as it turns out. But yeah, I would be happy using the thing that looks like that if it just worked well.
Yeah.
With other accounts. Yeah, I'd be happy to use it. I would switch to it in a second. I would be happy to use.
Yeah. I think Monarch is basically OA, Outlook Web Access on steroids. Right. Made into...
It might literally be a React app. I actually don't know how they're making it. Maybe that's part of that article. But I bet it is.
I heard it's just Outlook Express with a new UI.
I liked Outlook Express.
Outlook Express was actually great. I loved it too.
Windows Live Mail, which was the successor. I liked that too. I liked it when it was called Athena back in the beginning.
They keep trying to do this, though, is kind of the point, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's a very good framing I will use from now on. Instead of saying I hate Outlook, I'll say, unless you're living in the Microsoft world, Outlook is not ideal, because it isn't ideal with Gmail.
Right. There are people connecting to corporate exchange service who are like, what are you talking about? This thing works great. Well, of course it does. Using Microsoft on both ends.
It's like, I hated Lotus Notes, but if you're in a Lotus world, it kind of made sense, and I can see why you would like it. Yeah, we had to use it at ZDNet.
Right.
Back in the day.
I remember.
Speaking of Ray Ozzie.
Right, exactly.
All right, we could take that little tiny break, get back to the foldables, and more with Mary Jo Foley. And from Mexico, if you're just joining us, Paul Thurrott. He sounds like he's down a tube in the middle of somewhere. I think we are connected to him via a tube, actually. So
I might in a tower. Actually, maybe it's just a satellite or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Who knows? Anyway, we're glad we could get him on from Mexico City. We'll have more with the dynamic duo of Microsoft Tech in just a sec. But first, a word from Hover. I think anybody who listens to our shows knows that, we're into Hover. I mean, we talk about Hover all the time. Hover's our domain registrar. That's where we get domain names. And by the way, I have dozens, probably more than that even, registered at hover.com. You want a domain. There's a lot of reasons why you want a domain name. And I think sometimes people go, oh, that's fancy. I'm not that fancy. I don't mind having an Outlook email or a Hotmail or... I still talk to people who say, I had a caller the other day, said, my AOL mail is just not working like it used to. Yeah. Get an email address that you own, and you can then move around from mail service to mail service, but your address doesn't change. That's just one of many reasons. If you're a business and you're still using at hotmail.com as your business email, that just doesn't look professional. Go to Hover. It's very easy to create a domain name, whether you're a blogger, an artist, photographer, you want to create an online store. I mean, honestly, I use Hover domains just for my about, for my mail signature and things like that. Maybe a better redirect to your LinkedIn page. You don't have to make a web page to have your own domain name. I guess that's the point. Hover has the best domain names and email addresses, and they're ready for you right now. What a huge selection. I'll tell you, email. This is my little, campaign that I'm going on, is get people to have their own domain name for email, not just for business for sure, but even individuals, for families. Create a family domain name. That's what I have, and then everybody can have an address at that. Hover has domain-based emails for all your needs, small or large, very easy to set up. The nice thing is, when your domain renews every year, so does your mailbox. Prices are fantastic. The most popular mailbox, just a few bucks a month. It's a no-brainer for business owners. You get access from anywhere, of course. You can use Outlook if you insist, but you can use any email app that you're comfortable with. And, of course, they offer a webmail solution, too, which is really a nice feature, I think. The nice thing about when you sign up at Hover, you don't get page after page after page of upsell. They know what you need. For instance, automatically you get Whois privacy. That's not an add-on. That's just built into your domain purchase so that your information, like your address and your phone number, stays private. It's not normally, right? It's public record. But Whois privacy reduces spam, protects you from unwanted solicitations, stalkers, whatever it is. You're no longer putting your address and phone number on the public internet. So they know you want that, and they do that automatically. I have to say, and I know this, I speak from experience, they have the best, easiest to use DNS and email management tools. I've used them. I use them almost every week. I go in there and mess with DNS and so forth. Very easy to use, whether you're a web pro or just getting started. In fact, they have a really easy setup for people who use well-known domains. You know, you have a blog at Blogspot or WordPress or Squarespace, or you use Shopify. There's it's just one button connect. So it makes it very easy to get a domain name and then connect it immediately to your site. Hover wants you to know at Hover you are a customer, not a source of data. The email is reliable. It's tracker free. They're not scanning your email. Hover's trusted by thousands of customers who use their domain names and email to turn their ideas into reality. It's just fun. Go to hover.com/twit and start searching for domain names. And when you find one, you'll get 10% off your first purchase of any domain extension for the whole first year. Developer, photographer, artist, small business, Hover has something for you to expand your projects and get the visibility you want. Lots of dots. Lots of dots. I have a .cloud. Of course, I got .net, .com, .org. I'll give you an example. When I got my ham license, I immediately registered my domain name, W6, or my license name, W6TWT.com, .org, and .net. Easy as pie with Hover, and I keep that up to date. And when I just recently renewed it with the FCC, it's Leo at W6TWT.org. That is a great way to keep track of your email. And it looks better that way, too. Hover.com/twit. That's the place to go. Please use that address for two reasons. Because it's the right thing to do. You'll let them know you saw it here on Windows Weekly, and we really need that support. But also, you'll get 10% off your domain extension, your first domain extension for a full year. Hover, HOVER.com/twit. We all use it. You should too. Hover.com/twit. Foldable. Did you? Would it be early for you? No, I guess it wouldn't have been early for you, Paul, and you're in Mexico City, and not for you, Mary Jo. We had it. It was 7 a.m. our time. The Samsung event. I made Jason Howell do it because he's almost all about Android.
Yeah.
So, what do you think?
I actually haven't watched it yet. I will.
New Fold 3.
We're very interested in these folding phones, whether it's the flip style or the open book style, whatever, but expensive, right? I mean, $17.99 and up.
Is that outrageous? I know. I can't. Well, and I have the original, or Fold 2, rather. I get it, but you know what I bought immediately, though, is the new Galaxy Watch. I think that's going to be very interesting.
I'm interested in the earbuds as well with the ANC. We'll see. I'm going to go through all that stuff when I have time. I do some work every day while I'm away, so I just haven't done it yet. But I was very interested to see that Microsoft announced an expansion of their partnership to include some new software, or so I guess we should call it some improved software that works on these devices. There is a weird thing with folding phones. We can't call them screens, so it's kind of hard to refer to what you're seeing. But on either sides of the fold, whichever way you're folding it, you could have different apps. And so they kind of work like discrete screens, or you could call them, like we have in Windows and elsewhere, and on mobile too, the ability to snap application windows and have two or maybe more of them depending on the device on screen at the same time. So that work has been done partially by Google and Android. Samsung has done some of that work. Microsoft, we know, has done some work to enable developers to in their case, dual screen apps, but dual screen apps work identically on folding screen devices, right? So this is all in the same wheelhouse, I guess we'll call it. The thing that they've announced here, it's funny. It's not that much stuff, right? So It's primarily, I would say Teams is the big thing. And then the other one is Outlook. And so in Teams, and you got to remember, Teams is a platform to itself. You can run apps in Teams. So one of the things you can do on mobile is display a PowerPoint presentation. This is the way they describe it, on one of the two, we'll call them screens, right? And then on the other, you can have the faces of your coworkers, and you're all, maybe one of you is presenting and other people are providing feedback. And so that's kind of neat. And that's something built into the app. It's not, and that makes sense because those are two tasks you would do simultaneously in Teams. The other one they mentioned was Whiteboard. Same deal. You could be having a meeting at work and or one of you is writing on the whiteboard. The whiteboard appears in one side or one screen using your S Pen, right? Because it's a Samsung device. And then the other side is the other people in the meeting. And then on the Outlook side, there's a new dual pane mode. I guess pane is not a bad way to put it, where you can read one email. It's so goofy when you talk about this stuff while you're previewing others on the other side. It's something we do every day in Windows. Even the Mail app, by the way, lets you, if you want to, it's convoluted, but you can pop out an email, snap it side by side with the main mail app, and then you can either look at your list of other emails or have another email. And you can, it's using one app to do snap, if that makes sense, instead of two separate apps. Yeah.
So it's basically what you can do on the Surface Duo, except they have to optimize the apps differently, right? Because of the hinge in the middle for the Duo and not
I guess so,
on foldables, right?
You want to make sure nothing's in the middle.
Right.
And you have to have an understanding, or by which I mean the app has to have an understanding of where that dividing line is.
Right.
Yeah. So this is, it's interesting. This is another indication of how mobile is becoming more sophisticated, because this type of thing where you have multiple windows of the same app is something we take for granted on Windows or on the Mac or any other desktop platform. And this is an example of that happening on mobile.
Mm-hmm.
Look, even with a normal smartphone, just a regular smartphone that everybody has, you should be able to do this stuff, because Android and probably iOS, I don't really use iOS, but Android definitely supports the ability to have two different applications in portrait mode, maybe even in landscape mode. I'm not sure. I never do this because to me this is worthless, but you have two different views of two different things. Usually these days there are two different apps, but now the apps are becoming more sophisticated, so you have two views of the same app instead of two different apps.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if you have $1,799 plus tax burning a hole in your pocket.
I'm just going to get a Pixel 6. What about the Flip? Do you get any of those benefits with the Flip, which is much smaller?
My understanding is these features all apply to both phones. And it is much smaller. And by the way, that in the Flip fully extended is exactly what I just described. It's just a normal smartphone. Although I suppose you could use it in that kind of a little book, I don't know what you would call this, a little book.
I think you can, like a little laptop.
Yeah, I guess you could do that.
Smurf laptop.
Or like a Nintendo, not a Game Boy. The one that flipped open.
Yeah.
No, at least with the Flip 2, they showed that. I'm sure you could do it with the Flip 3.
The only reason you want a flip phone is so you can flip the thing open and talk on it like you're from the 1970s or whatever. Like that, isn't that the appeal of it? Or like a razor phone from the 1990s?
No. The real appeal is so that you can hang up with a snap.
A satisfying snap.
Satisfying.
The last sound that person hears is the plastic hitting the plastic.
Good day, sir. Good day. Click.
Yes.
And then your phone breaks because, it's not meant to be snapped.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think the Pixel... I think I'll stay.
I want the Pixel 6.
Yeah.
I don't want this.
I do too.
But that's why I got the Samsung Watch, because it looks like that's going to be the best Wear OS version.
Well, by the way, there's another example of Samsung partnering with another company, in this case Google, because they're basically combining. Well, they should. I've said this for a lot of things, and I'll just say folding phones / dual screen phones really fall into this category. Samsung has done all this work to bring Android to the desktop via DeX. They've done their folding things. And it's like, this really needs to kind of come from the platform, because you want it to be available to all phone makers, so that if Huawei or OnePlus or whatever other company, LG, Motorola, whatever, this is stuff that should be available to everyone. When Microsoft makes an app that works on Duo or works on the Flip Z or whatever they're calling it, that should work on any phone that folds. And you want this to be part of the platform. And so on the watch side, they're, I believe, stepping back from Tizen, right, and kind of going with some future version, or I guess they're moving to Android. What's it called? Wear OS or whatever. The Android. I'm sorry, the Google wearable platform.
Just Wear. That's all we say.
Wear. There you go.
Just Wear. One word says
Why
it all.
Wear? Where's
Why
Wear?
Where not? Where is my Wear?
Where not? Exactly. Yeah. Does that make sense? I don't know.
I'm actually, and I think it's a little knee-jerk of me, but I'm actually saying maybe I won't get an iPhone next year because of this whole privacy foo-rah. Maybe it's time to send a signal to Apple and say, no, you know what? Not going to do it. Going to go Pixel and Wear.
I'm really confused by how accepting people have been of the Apple nanny state to date, and I don't understand
It's gone a little
why
too
this
far
isn't.
now. Yeah.
Well, I like some of the privacy stuff they do for sure. Obviously, why wouldn't I? But the Apple knows best thing is wearing a little thin, and I think we need to acknowledge that the adults who buy these phones are adults. Yeah.
Wearing
Just a thought,
a little thin. Wearing? Like, how about wore?
See what I mean? They're wearing OS a little thin, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to play with some ideas of maybe take the Pixel 6, put a privacy focused ROM like Calyx on it.
Oh, interesting.
Of course, then if you have the Samsung Watch. But I mean, the Apple, I don't know. I actually do like the Apple Watch and use it. I think the Samsung Watch will be better.
I use a Fitbit because the thing lasts for like 5 to 7 days.
Yeah, maybe I should just do that. Yeah.
Well, no, but I want to be clear. I'm not recommending that at all. But the reason I use it primarily just for fitness stuff, and I don't care about the apps and stuff. So the app platform on Fitbit is terrible, but the battery life is fantastic. And again, this is yet another area in tech life where I just think there's a middle ground that we can reach between the functionality you get on an Apple Watch and the battery life you get on a Fitbit. And we haven't reached that point yet. And maybe the new Wear stuff will do that. I don't know. That's why Samsung went with Tizen, right? It was, I think, control, but also largely battery. I bet it was partially due to battery life and performance.
Well, whatever it was, they've kind of abandoned. They've abandoned it. They got Wear now.
Well,
and the nice thing is,
their version of Windows Phone,
yeah, Wear died because the platform didn't advance. It was a crappy Qualcomm chip, and now Samsung's putting much better chip in it.
See,
so
that's
why I'm
fascinating to me,
intrigued.
right? They have a chip, and I don't know how new that is to this platform. I guess Samsung probably has used their own chipsets, but the Qualcomm stuff never advanced, and now they're talking big about that, and we'll see.
No, Google required. That's one of the reasons for Tizen. Google required everybody with Wear OS to use the same hardware platform.
Oh, lovely.
So that was, I think, one of the reasons for Tizen, so that Samsung could use their own chips. So the whole thing didn't. It was a flop, and I think it's too bad because I want to see a little competition here. Let's have some competition. Yeah. And I wish Windows Phone had survived. I really
guys,
do.
We've been talking about this for this is Mac versus Windows. You can have choice, or you can have the same thing over and over again. And again, you kind of want something in the middle. I want the reliability of this uniplatform thing over here, but I also want the choices and that you get, from partnering with hardware companies and so forth.
We talked about this yesterday on Security Now. Edge has a super secure mode. Actually, it's really
super secure.
Yeah.
Super duper.
Super duper. It's actually really interesting because based on their research, they realized that a big source of insecurity on all these browsers is this just-in-time compiler that people are using for JavaScript to speed it up. And in the early days, I guess a few years ago, it did make a difference. What they're finding now is it is not, with faster systems, is not as big a difference and maybe hardly a difference at all. So you're sacrificing security for a speed bump that you don't.
Did you talk
really
to Steve Gibson about this?
Yes. Well, we had a.
So here's the reason Well, let me just ask this real quick because Steve Gibson, infamously, right, x86 assembler guy. There is no faster code you can write on a computer than x86 assembler, right?
Yeah,
but
it's native machine
JavaScript.
code.
If you were going to make a scale or a spectrum from assembly language to whatever the other end is, the other end would be JavaScript.
No, like the other end would be more like Python, but yeah.
Okay, but it's in the same area. It is fascinating to me that JavaScript can run fast. This is a non-compiled. What do you call that? Interpreted language, a language that runs just in place as you load stuff. I mean, it's crazy. This should never work.
Well, it's kind of like Turbo Pascal or Delphi. I think it does tokenization, so it kind of does an intermediate step. It's not machine language, but it's
this is like Microsoft pseudocode from VB 1
it's
through 3
pseudocode,
or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And then P code, they used to call it in the Pascal days.
That's actually the word I was thinking of. P code. Okay.
So I think the JIT. I'm not up on this. I'm not sure why the just-in-time speeds things up.
But this is the biggest selling point of every browser. Google talks about V8.
Yeah,
And
fast
Microsoft now does
JavaScript performance.
Yep.
Yeah, because that's what's
Anyway,
slowing
sorry,
your
Mike.
page loads down. That's right.
So what did he have? I'm curious. Where does he land on this?
Well, I think he was persuaded by the Microsoft technical paper, which basically said you're not getting that much benefit from JIT, and you sure are getting a security hit from it.
Yeah.
So that's all Super Secure Mode is, and it's a switch, and it's not available in the regular Edge. You have to be in the beta, but it's a switch that turns off the JIT. And I think what he said, and I think I agree with him, is let's try it and see. If your performance doesn't take a hit, untenable hit, then you should turn off the JIT.
I'm going to give an idea to an entrepreneur out there. Just make a T-shirt that says, "Friends don't let friends do JIT."
If speed doesn't take a hit, you must not JIT.
you must not JIT. That's beautiful. Yes.
Because I didn't realize that it is a big source of security issues.
Yeah.
Right.
Half. They said roughly half of the V8 bugs that must be fixed would be removed.
Isn't that
just by
incredible?
disabling it. Yeah.
This is good. What an amazing change this is, and yet another example of technology that was created for all the right reasons, and ended up being harmful.
Yep.
You know?
But then I love it. They're calling it Super-Duper Secure Mode.
Well, they won't be able to keep that. But
name. Great.
What a great name.
Sadly, this will not be the real name.
Oh, too bad. I wouldn't be surprised if they just changed the default. I mean, that's going to be.
I was just going to say they don't need a name for this because this will just be the browser.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And Google published benchmarks. Edge is terrible. Use Chrome.
But by the way, that's another part of this blog post that they had was, and this is something I've been saying for years, performance benchmarks don't necessarily have anything to do with real world performance. And it's like, right. And the problem with benchmarks is that people write code to satisfy the needs of a benchmark. If this thing actually doesn't impact the real world performance of this browser, they should get rid of JIT.
Mm-hmm.
I think. I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it works. I mean, they're testing it now. So I hope that's how it works.
As Mary Jo points out in her article, I don't want to steal your thunder, Mary Jo, but if you're in the Canary Dev or Beta ring, you can enable it by going to edge://flags and search for Super-Duper.
Awesome.
So what's so funny about this? On Twitter, the people who are the most obsessed and angry about this were mad about the name. And I'm like, guys, can't they have any fun? Like, you make fun of them when they do, Windows 10 R2 2018. And now if they have a little fun with the name, you are like, I don't like this that they're joking and calling it Super-Duper Mode. It's like, guys, it's a placeholder name. Just leave it.
It's not just it is a wonderfully chosen name because it got them attention. If they had, whatever this group was, the Edge security team, whatever, had put a blog post up that said, we're experimenting with disabling JIT, no one would have written about it.
That's true.
Now people are going to test it. People are going to want to go see this.
And
because they've heard about it.
I'll pass along a little secret I've learned over my many years on Twitter. I was one of the first people on Twitter. Nobody likes anything on Twitter.
They don't.
Right.
No,
that's a good point.
It's just a hot take engine.
It's outrage.
It's outrage. So I never take anything I read on Twitter seriously.
No, me neither. I just thought it was hilarious that they didn't like the name after complaining about all the terrible Microsoft
they'll find something to bitch about no matter what.
Like, really? Oh, man.
Yeah, we got to get past the Microsoft product name jokes, too. Like the people who kind of chime in and say, they're going to call it Microsoft Speed Optimization Server 2021 R2, or whatever. It's like, guys, come on. Like, there are so many good things we can complain about today with Microsoft. Let's not bring up stuff from the past.
Right. Except, sadly, the naming is a big problem at Microsoft.
I was saying that. I was thinking the same.
It is. Yeah.
Not as bad as it used to be.
True.
Well, you can do as Mary Jo did and just say it's SDSM mode.
Yeah, I'm like, just call it SDSM and you don't ever have to say what that stands for.
This sounds dirty.
There you go. It does. I was just thinking that. I don't know if don't they tell me not to enable that in my browser?
Do you want SDSM or not?
Don't give that to your kids.
I And
Apple's going to flag it. They're using SDSM.
No, not in Safari, they're not.
No, that's right. It's funny because this just shows how computer science changes. This was the holy grail. Everybody was singing the praises of just in time.
It's what made JavaScript made sense. It's what probably enabled a whole generation of web apps to make sense.
Yeah.
It's fascinating that we're turning our back on this. I can't think of anything quite like this. It's really interesting.
Oh, good. We got some good juice out of that one. That was fun. Let's see what's next after the
another fun topic.
Oh God, PrintNightmare,
Right.
and the solution. Well, I'll let you talk about it. I don't want to steal it.
So yesterday was Patch Tuesday, right? And so Microsoft yet again is trying to fix the PrintNightmare problem. But part of what they did to fix it is change the permissions on installing printer drivers. Another thing that has people very much up in arms here, by the way.
Yep.
I've gotten some very angry mail today about this. But the idea is don't let everybody just install printer drivers. Make it something admins have to do, which I can see why Microsoft is making this change to try to reduce the issues with the PrintNightmare issues. But meanwhile, admins are saying, wait, so now I have to go and install printer drivers everywhere, like on shared printers, and
because users tend to want to install printer drivers themselves.
Right.
I mean, it's an easy thing to do.
I know.
You know what? I think that I understand why they did it, and it's probably the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But the side effect of it is people just go, "Oh, make everybody administrator."
Right. I know.
Which is obviously the wrong thing to do.
It's almost like you need a granular control over permissions where you can, and of course you can do this, but this is work. I think this is why IT pros are complaining, because now you have to create new groups of people who can install print drivers and so forth. But I think isn't this really about this happening in the background? The notion that this process requires an admin elevation and a UAC prompt is what prevents some malicious code from getting in through a print driver or whatever, right? Is it right? I think that's
right.
Kind of
no, and that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, we have systems for admins approving things. I mean, I don't know. I know it's more work, guys, but you didn't get into a job that didn't require a lot of work, right? I mean, this is the nature of the business. It's just, sorry.
I think in a well-run environment, the IT department is going to do the right thing. But I do have to say, for most end users, we used to give that recommendation: install as a limited user or a standard user, and nobody does that. Everybody's an administrator because it's just a pain in the butt. At least you'll get a UAC prompt down, though. So that's
right.
I mean,
exactly. So if you're sitting there using your computer and the UAC thing pops up to say something about a printer driver, maybe look at that twice.
Yeah.
We'll see if it's really fixed, though, right? I mean, how many different Patch Tuesdays have we gone through now? Where this every time it's like,
this has been
not fixed yet. Nope, not just kidding.
It's awful.
I know. Yeah.
Retcon in our Discord says we don't call them end users. As the IT guy, I call them end losers. Just so you know.
Well, there you go. Jeez. I hope you're obscured behind a fake ID thing there.
I won't tell you who he works for, but it's a well-known company.
Yeah.
Windows 11. Any news in the Windows 11 front?
Yeah.
Oh, tell me.
We have a wrong link in the notes here.
I know. I'm fixing it. Yeah, I'm fixing it.
So basically, Good.
Well, there was a new build after Windows Weekly last week.
Right, as always.
You know what was crazy about this build, though? How many fixes were in this thing? Hundreds.
By the way, even crazier, or as crazy, I guess I'll say, is the number of things they know that are wrong.
Yeah.
That they've admitted to publicly.
Yeah.
This is like.
Well, but it's a beta. I mean, come on.
I know, but there's a very shortened time frame to get this thing complete. which, well, by the way, itself says a lot about where we're at. But it is astonishing to me, without even just adding major new features, how many things are being fixed and have to be fixed.
Yeah.
It's in kind of a rough spot.
You know, what somebody said to me was, is it just that they're being extra careful and doing more due diligence on all these bugs before it ships because they want Windows 11 to come out like really pristine when it comes out?
So if they wanted that, they'd wait until next March, because I'm telling you, you can expect every month more and more of these.
It's kind of a short time frame. That's the
It's
problem.
a very short time frame.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's why you test things publicly, because they've been testing this internally for a while. You throw it in front of the public, even a small group of people, whatever, a couple million, whatever it is, and oh, surprise! And then you're going to get another wallop when it goes out into the public.
Right. There also, we didn't mention this, a new widget. You know how they have these widgets? One was like a news headlines, and now they've got one that's called the family widget for MSA accounts. So what this does is, if you have, it's basically like family safety, right? If you have other people in your family group on your account, it shows you recent activity from people in the family group. So you'll see, like, your son had 1 hour and 32 minutes of screen time today, and here's where he is right now. Here's his updated location.
The issue I have with this is this widget goes in that widgets thing, which in Windows 10 is called something. What's it called? Windows 10 news and interest, right? And it's full of garbage articles from Pop Sugar and Glamour magazine, and
so that's one widget, right? Like, that's one widget is the headlines, but this is a different widget that you're going to be able to slide out from the side, like you can with the news headlines.
Right, but it's still next to all that other stuff, and it's just, I wish there was they almost need like modes for this thing where I just want productivity stuff. Weather is fine. Right. Yeah. Or things I choose are fine. Maybe only show me the things, stock prices, whatever nonsense, people care about, whatever it is. But it's kind of commingled with mainstream news from a lot of that nonsense, not quite expertise sources of news that I was complaining about earlier. Like, it makes me want to turn it off, not use it. And I wish because there is some good there, and there's potential for other good stuff. All the things we talked about having, like in the Longhorn sidebar back in the day, a clock, weather and email, recent emails, items on your calendar, to-dos, and all that kind of stuff. And like that kind of a productivity focused widget thing, Pane, whatever you want to call it, great. But I don't want this commingled with that other nonsense. You could make a career out of customizing this, not to show you the garbage. But there will always be more garbage, just like on any other news feed, if it's Facebook or Google News, whatever.
The best thing about widgets is they're really easy to turn off.
There you go.
That's true.
I already have it off on Windows 11. I'm like, you know what? I'm never going to use any.
Want to know what Sriracha's been up to? How much screen time Sriracha's had this week?
How many mice he's killed and other bugs.
Maybe throw like a tile on his collar and follow him around the house.
Where is he right now?
Where the cat is at.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say before we go to the Xbox segment?
Well, here's how superfluous this update was. One of the updates, one of the changes or improvements, is that the chat icon, the button in the taskbar, which is for the Microsoft Teams thing, now shows notification badges. So if you thought, we were far along here, I mean, how do you ship this thing without notification badges? I mean, it's crazy. But anyway, I think that kind of shows you the state of the thing. This is an improvement.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, oh well.
All right. Let's take a little time out. I want to do some educating, and then edumacating. We'll do the Xbox segment. If you want, we can take some questions from the Discord chat. Our show today brought to you by Akamai. Now, I know you all know the name Akamai. Who doesn't, right? The world's largest distributed edge compute platform. If you would like to deliver extraordinary customer experiences and run code at the edge, there's nothing like Akamai. It's just simply the best. I think everybody knows that. Maybe you don't know why it's the best, so I'm going to fill you in. I'm going to give you some of the deets. Akamai has 10 times the locations of the nearest competitor. You want to give a guess how many servers worldwide Akamai has? 4,000. 4,000. That means you're always closer to your end user with Akamai, and that really cuts down on latency, speeds up time, load times. I mean, it just makes a massive difference. That's kind of the table stakes for a great distributed edge compute platform. 4,000 locations. That means your customers will get the content, the apps, the sites, the video they need with no lag, no interruption, no latency, even when the internet's busy or there's unexpected traffic spikes because you just posted a hot new viral video. Don't worry about it. You'll be prepared for spikes in demand. You can optimize resources to provide the best experience for your customers. You will be amazed at Akamai's unparalleled performance. Nobody comes close. And, here's the good news. With 4,000 points of presence, you'll always be one network hop away from 85% of the world's internet users. They're next door. You're next door. That's the point. That's the point. And when it comes to scalability, again, nobody beats Akamai. Application architects get the flexibility to scale enterprise applications with Akamai Edge Workers. Whole idea of Edge Workers is your development teams can focus on building. You don't have to worry about scaling. Let Akamai take care of the challenges of scaling globally. And because Akamai empowers you to deploy serverless code at the edge, you won't experience the headaches of increased traffic at origin or any of the overheads that go with it. They're out there, those edge workers, working for you. It gives you the power to innovate right at the edge because your logic and your functions are deployed and active at the nearest proximity to your end users. Again, next door neighbors. No matter where they are in the world, you're getting the fastest end user experience. Akamai makes it simple to build right at the edge using JavaScript. You heard of that? Yeah, we were just talking about it. So you can innovate in real time, low latency access to data for custom code at the edge, and Akamai can even optimize your API traffic delivery for edge applications. Now, you would think with all these benefits, when you're getting the best in class, you would think it might cost more, but no. Even with all that unrivaled intelligence, performance, and scalability, Akamai is comparably priced to anything else you've been looking at. In fact, because limits are set per request, you can be sure your workload will scale no matter how big your user base. And of course, being serverless means you'll see decreased overhead at origin too. Everybody knows Akamai's the best. You know their reputation. You know they're trusted by the biggest brands in the world. You know you're getting 10 times the locations of the competitors for the fastest customer experience available. Check out Akamai's website to learn more about edge computing, to have a conversation with them, and do me a favor, just get a quote. You might be surprised how competitive the pricing is. You might just say, wow, I should have been using Akamai all along. Build closer to your end user with Akamai, the world's largest distributed edge computing platform. It's intelligent and it's cool. Go to akamai.com/WW right now and learn more. Please, by the way, use the WW part so they know you saw it here. Akamai.com/WW. No one does the edge better than Akamai. It's time to visit with the world of Xbox. Paul Thurrott, did you bring your Xbox with you?
No. And I wish I had brought a controller because I could have used it.
You could have done Xcloud in Mexico.
If you thought the OneNote story from the top of the show was confusing,
yeah.
I need you to sit down, grab a drink, and just try to figure out what I'm about to say. This is crazy.
I'm listening.
All right. So we all know that Project Xcloud, which is now called Xbox Cloud Gaming, is a feature of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which costs $14.99 a month, and they probably have 6-month deals or whatever. That's the only way you can get it. And you may know that back in June, I think it was late June, maybe it was July, whenever, sometime in the past couple of months, Microsoft released the first, it was a web app way to access this service on Windows, right? Because in the beginning, it was only on Android, and then they expanded it to Windows and iOS, and I guess iPadOS as well, via a web app, right? So I think you go to xbox.com/play, I believe is how you do that. And to date, that's been how you could access this service. As of yesterday or the day before, there is now a native app way to access the service, which should provide better performance and certainly offers more customizability. That is part of it. However, to access that, you need to be part of the Xbox Insider program, which you have to sign up for through the a store app on the Xbox console or in Windows. Okay, you follow all that? So, as of today, if you are an Xbox Insider and are paying $14.99 a month for Xbox Cloud Gaming, you can download the Xbox app, which is not included in Windows, but is available for free from the web. Will be included in Windows 11, by the way. And you can access Xbox Cloud Gaming with an Xbox wireless controller, also required, by the way, or another USB or Bluetooth-based game controller. And so that's available now to the three people that just met that bizarre confluence of requirements.
That's because
I described.
It's early, though, right? Eventually it'll be widely available, yes?
Early, I guess. I mean, the first beta of this, I believe, happened in September 2020, possibly October. It was sometime around that time frame. Yeah, okay, fair enough. But
there's a new feature they're going to roll out.
Yes, and I think it's going to be, well, no, I don't think. This will be something that Microsoft will one day promote as a feature of Windows 11, right? Because the Xbox app will be included in Windows 11. That will be the client. Another bit of the confusion here is that there were multiple Xbox apps on Windows, and so let me just see what I have on this one. I actually did download. I have the Xbox app. There's the Xbox Game Bar, which is not really an app. It's more of it's an app, but it's kind of a service. There's the Xbox Console Companion app, which used to be sort of like the Xbox app. And then there are things related to Smart Screen and some other stuff, family settings. And, there's other Xbox family settings. There's other things. There's a lot of Xbox apps. So I think they're trying to, again, consolidate a single app. This app almost certainly, and I'm speaking off the top of my head, so I could be wrong, but it's probably a React Native app. So it is itself kind of web-based, or is literally web-based. But if you meet all those requirements, Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, Xbox Insider, Xbox controller, right, or compatible controller, and you have a Windows computer, you can access Xbox Cloud Gaming, again, a feature of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, on Windows today in beta. There's a lot of beta asterisks, appendages to everything I just said, but that happened. So It happened while I was gone. I don't have a controller.
Oh, yeah, that's frustrating.
Yeah, this is something I would definitely test.
Yeah. Well, especially where you are. I mean, I'm sure you have much better bandwidth in Lower Macungie.
Well, interestingly, so in this hotel, I do have a faster download speed, but this hotel has a faster upload speed than I have at home.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's surprising.
Huh. It's not surprising. I think we are not unique, but we are almost unique in the United States that we have asymmetric internet, which is a weird thing that a lot of the world doesn't have.
Yeah, so if you're on Fios, for example, whatever download speed you have, that's your upload speed, right? That's exactly what you want. And it's going to become increasingly important for things like this.
That's
right?
a really good point. That's right. Yeah. It's
important for the podcast. I mean, I know I don't need more than 30 gig, megabits, or to do a podcast, but I mean,
but that's a lot. I mean,
yeah,
that is a lot. Anyway.
But 330 down is a lot more, and if I'd rather have 50 down, 50 up than have 300 down, 30 up. Let's put it that way.
When will the Xcloud Gaming app be available on Linux? Is my question.
So I'm going to say probably never, but you can access it from xbox.com/play.
You do the web thing. So for most of the world, it'll still be a web-based and not quite as performant and not as flexible.
Yeah. I mean, a Chromium-based browser would probably be your best bet because they're going to optimize it for that.
Right.
And that should work fine on Linux. I don't know what the situation is on Linux with game controllers.
Or Mac. I don't mean exclusively Linux. In other words, they're not going to make... This app is for Windows 11 is really what it is. Right?
Yeah. It will work on Windows 10. I mean, today, literally, I have it installed today on Windows 10. It does work on Windows 10, but they'll promote it as a feature of Windows 11.
Right.
And if you didn't understand anything I just said, Mary Jo's email address is Mary Jo Foley.
Send it to her. Your
Send it to me because I'm lost already.
Yeah.
So.
I promised you it would be confusing.
I actually paid for it. I haven't used it that much, but I love the idea,
Yep. I screwed two of the links in this thing. I screwed up both of these.
Microsoft has a Gamescom live stream coming up.
Yeah, let me find it on my
and it links to Parallels Desktop 17 to bring Windows 11 to the Mac.
Yeah,
right. That's exactly the article I was looking for.
As promised, I screwed up. Okay, so at the end of August, and let me just, if this thing ever comes up. Okay, on August 24th, which might be 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks, exactly 2 weeks from now, yeah. There's usually an industry show at this time of year called Gamescom, and this year it's going to be virtual, of course, 100% virtual. So they're having their own events. Microsoft is going to have a live stream right before the main keynote, and this this live stream will be an hour long. It's at 11 a.m. PT on August 25, and what they're promising is. This is kind of another weird turn of Microsoft phrase. In-depth updates from some of their previously announced Xbox Game Studio titles. In other words, they're not promising new Xbox Game Studio titles. However, they're also promising updates from some of their third-party developers. And it will include games for Xbox consoles, of course, Xbox Game Pass. And here again, I love when I can recognize this in my own writing. I put it in quotes because I don't want people to ask me about it. And much more. So I don't know what that means, but it will be on YouTube, Twitch, everywhere.
And I have to point out that is exactly what Windows Weekly's on the air.
Oh, fantastic!
So maybe we'll just do a little picture-in-picture or something, and you can watch it.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, it'll be like a little gaming virus that takes over the show.
Sneaking into the just kind of edging into the show like that.
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. It will probably be a lot like that event that you and I did the live stream for last year.
Yes.
It's
just a bunch of game teasers, trailers, and stuff.
I think so.
Yeah. Well, if there's any news, we'll break it right here because this is your headquarters for Xbox News and Hadoop
with Mary Jo Foley and that other guy.
She's passing out.
Right. What would be funny is if my link to Parallels didn't go to the Parallels story.
It probably doesn't.
It's hard. Pasting is hard.
Yeah. Well,
especially in OneNote.
Yeah.
I have all kinds of writing. This is a little disconcerting. Okay, it doesn't matter. We'll get through this.
You and me all together. Guess what's next, kids? The back of the book. Paul Thurrott kicks the back of the book off with his tip of the week. Paul,
I think I'm struggling with a touchpad here. Like when you right click, but you're not far enough over or something.
You should send that Windows machine back.
I'm not sending this thing back. It's the only thing I have that works.
What are you on right now?
It's an HP ZBook. It's billed as a portable workstation, but it's the lowest end version, the Firefly, and it's what it really is kind of a trumped up Ultrabook. But it's fully user serviceable.
Oh, nice!
You just unscrew the back. Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful computer. It's kind of if you think about a company of people in a kind of creative sense, you've got the high end people working on high end graphics or video. And then you have people kind of in marketing that maybe just need to do lighter, it's lighter work. They have a kind of a spectrum of.
Yeah, I did an event for HP a few months ago about their Z stuff for data.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, for data scientists. We did a thing a bunch of data scientists talking about that. It's really interesting. So this is a laptop version of that. That's pretty, wow. That's got to be interesting.
It's the lowest end one they have. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful machine. And I love it all the more because it didn't get killed by water like that other stupid piece.
Yeah. What got killed? Your Surface?
That's an HP. I shouldn't say it's also an HP. It's a Elite Elite Dragonfly Max. Which I think I can fix. I need some Torx screwdrivers and
some rice.
Well, I think by that point it's probably just going to be dry. but there's an issue with not an issue. There's the way that HP's and probably other computers too. When water gets inside, if it hits the battery, you have to actually physically disconnect the battery, power it on with power.
It's like a fuse. Yeah.
Power it down, and then put the battery back, and it will probably just work. and then I'll send it back to HP because God knows I can never trust that thing again. But well.
I'm getting really jealous of all your hardware.
I know.
I put in a deposit on this framework laptop.
Yeah, I'm interested in this
because it's designed to be completely modular and repairable. Everything, when you take off the back, everything has QR codes on it, which will take you to a page where you could either get instructions for repair or replacement or upgrades. It'll use standard parts in many cases. It's very interesting. So I'll be ordering. I think that's going to be my next laptop. I'm afraid, though, it's going to be a little clunky, because it's like all components.
From a hardware perspective, that foundation laptop is very much like the JIT thing we talked about earlier, where the industry went in this direction.
Glued down now.
Yes,
surface
it's all
mounted.
sealed.
Yeah.
They went super thin, super light, and then you start to realize, well, but I do need to get inside this thing sometimes, and repairability falls off the face of the earth. You ever look at like an iFixit thing for like a Surface laptop too, or whatever?
Impossible.
It's a gallon of glue and just the act of repairing it, like the Alcantara in that case, destroys it. Like you destroyed it.
Right. This thing, I think, like the screen is held on with magnets. I mean, like it's supposed to be like completely disassemblable. I wouldn't have ordered it, except a lot of people who got pre-release versions said this is actually really a nice laptop. So I'll fill you in. Yeah, I mean, it looks like a standard kind of Ultrabook. It's not. No, but
with the repairability thing, I think user serviceability is one of the big trends. It's going to be part of the government regulation soon. Right to repair.
Yeah, I would love to see that. Because we've gone, I understand everybody wants thin and light, but we've gone a little too far in that direction. At least there should be a choice.
Yep.
There should be a choice.
Well, there you go. That's exactly right.
People like you and me might opt for something that is a little more upgradable, a little bit.
And I would not.
Yeah, you're not going to do this.
I want the thin and light. The thinner and lighter, the better.
Except for one thing, your thin and light computer overheated. This is another. That's another part of the problem when you have something that's thin and light. Is the heat generation is hard to control.
Yeah.
You should feel my Surface right now. It's so hot.
Oh. Well, this thing, you just take the lid off and you can't use it, but it's cool.
There you go.
Runs cool.
Yep. I think this is going to be the start of a really good trend.
It's an interesting idea anyway. I hope they do well. In fact, that's one of the reasons I ordered it, is because I want to kind of at least support them, because here I am saying all this, you got to make right to repair, you got to make it better, you got to make it repairable.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Got to put some money where your mouth is,
How much was it?
I don't remember I put a $100 deposit down. It was in the right ballpark. It was in the standard ballpark.
I would say the premium laptop market from the PC side today for good computers is usually somewhere in the $1,300 range.
It's about there.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring my own OS, which will save me some money. And then you get, it's all really configurable and uses standard NVMe drives. So if I didn't want to buy it from them, I could just buy it from. It's $1,200 with an i5, 16 gigs of RAM. I don't know. I doubt it's a very. I doubt it's a super.
What's the size? I mean, if it's a 13 or 14.
What's the size? That's a good question. Gee, you'd think I'd know more about the thing I just bought. I didn't buy it yet. I just put down the deposit.
Like a full HD. Hopefully, is it a 16:9 display or is it a different?
13.5. It's 3.2, which I really liked.
There you go. That's great.
100% sRGB color gamut, 400 nits. So it's a pretty standard. Probably not touch. 2256 by 1504.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's actually better than the premium laptop.
It's Iris graphics, but it's got a 1080p camera on it. The fingerprint reader is Linux compatible, which is unusual and very nice. So I think it'll be a nice machine. We'll see. I'll give you a report.
Yeah, I think it looks great.
Yeah. Let's see. Where are we here? Oh,
back of the book.
Back of the book. Tip of the week. What was your tip? Oh, it's that article I just went to.
Well, how do you not know? It's in the notes like 18 times. I can't believe you can't remember that. So it's August. So Parallels has come up with the latest version of Parallels Desktop for Mac, which why would I mention that on Windows Weekly? Because it will support Windows 11 out of the box. And it supports it now, in beta, obviously, and also Mac OS Monterey, which is that upcoming version, I guess, coming out next month. Lots, all the usual improvements you would expect. The reason I mention this is as a tip, if you want to run Windows apps on Mac, Parallels to me has always been the best choice. It's certainly my favorite choice. They offer a coherence mode that lets you run just the apps. I mean, obviously the VM's running in the background, but the apps appear side by side with the Mac apps, the native apps, and cut and paste between them, drag and drop between them, all that stuff. It's really, really nice. Of course, with Mac M1, with M1 based Macs, you run into this interesting new problem because you can only virtualize ARM based versions of Windows, and we know that Windows 10 on ARM today is pretty terrible. The funny thing is, on the Mac, maybe it's not a funny thing, maybe it's a sad thing, but for whatever reason, Windows 10 on ARM runs well on the Mac, and so a virtualized version of it via Parallels Desktop is actually pretty nice. With Windows 11, the thing that changes is you get the 64-bit app compatibility, right? So that plugs one of the key gaps in Windows. Well, we'll call it Windows on ARM, right? So when you first hear that Windows on ARM on Mac, you're like, well, that sounds like a weird combination of things that won't work well. But actually, once you get to 64-bit app compatibility, that's what you want. I mean, the other problems of the platform don't matter anymore, right? Like the ability to install printer drivers, to bring that one back, with all their custom software kind of doesn't matter because you're doing all that through the Mac, right? All you really care about with Parallels is that the apps run. And now with Windows 11, when that happens, so say October or so, you'll have an incredible experience on the Mac running Windows on an M1 based Mac. It runs on Intel too, obviously, but the big problem here has been M1 and Windows and ARM. So that is being solved. I think that's pretty cool. So that's neat.
Yeah,
so you know about
it's huge.
A couple of app picks. And speaking of fixing problems, I wrote an article. I'm doing a series of feature-focused articles for Windows 11. The feature-focused phrase dates back literally to 1999 and the super site for Windows. And at that time, we were talking about something called Windows NT 5.0, which ended up becoming Windows 2000. And it's just describing all the new, the big new features in Windows 11. So you think describing the start menu should be a fairly, uninteresting topic, but it got an amazing amount of feedback, mostly because people, the people who would read my site or Mary Jo's site or listen to this podcast are not necessarily huge fans of the Windows 11 start menu. As expected, and I'm sure we talked about this maybe last week, Stardock is stepping in to fill in the gap, and they're doing it immediately. So there's a new product called Start 11, not surprisingly, $4.99, so it's really inexpensive. It's going to do what previous start menu replacements from this company did, which is bring back the previous start menu. So in other words, Start 10, the point of it is to bring back the start menus from like Windows 7 or previous Windows versions. But Start 11 is going to go further by allowing you to just really customize it to be more like the Windows 11 start menu, but have new features that Microsoft's not going to offer. And so here again, it's a little vague. We don't know exactly all of the things that they're going to do, but let me see if I can get a list here. The current version, the current beta, so beta 1, we'll call it, the version that's out now, allows you to bring back the old start menu. So if you want the Windows 10 start menu, the Windows 8 start menu, God help you, the Windows 7 start menu, whatever, it will do that kind of stuff. They're going to extend it over the course of the beta to bring in new things like pages and tabs, a minimalist design, enterprise features, and so forth. And in the future, they're going to have multiple layouts and integration with other Stardock products, better search, textures, for that kind of and I assume they mean kind of an acrylic type thing where you can apply the same texture to the start menu and to the taskbar. So it kind of gives it a cohesive look. So I've had great success with Stardock over the years, and in particular with the start menu replacements. And if you're using Windows 11 already and hate the start menu, which I think a lot of people do, it's a no-brainer to check this thing. So definitely do that. And then the other app pick, and this is interesting because I mentioned last week I talked about Firefox, and I know what Leo was expecting is this week I was going to tell people not to use Firefox.
You better not. I just switched back. I switched to Vivaldi because you said Vivaldi, and then you said Firefox.
I know, I'm sorry. I don't mean to have that amount of influence.
No, actually, you know what? I'm glad you were right last week, and I switched back, and I'm very happy.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm also continuing to use it. In the interim, I think yesterday, Mozilla released Firefox 91, the latest version. And there's, the expected features, improvement to total cookie protection. There's a feature from Firefox that was gone for a while and is now back, which is when you're printing, you can simplify the page so you don't get all the surrounding gook, and you just have the gunk, I guess. You just have the text and the graphs that you want to print and so forth. There's an they have a feature you have to enable called HTTPS only. Now they have something called HTTPS first, which is for private browsing sessions. That's on by default. And the idea there is they'll, in the background, connect to HTTPS all the time if they can. If that's rejected, they'll just show you the non-secure version in private browsing because, it's private browsing, it's fine. But here's the big feature for Windows users. They're now doing single sign-on pass-through for Microsoft accounts, and that's commercial and consumer. Right? So the Azure Active Directory accounts you'd get at work or at school, plus the Microsoft accounts we get through Outlook.com, et cetera, to web apps and web services. Now, that's a feature we kind of just use and probably don't think a lot about if you use Microsoft Edge. That's one of those things that just works. Because this is Firefox and Mozilla and they care about privacy and security and all this stuff, this feature is not enabled by default. But you probably want it if you're on Windows and if you use Microsoft services like those things I just mentioned, Outlook.com, Office.com, whatever it might be. This will literally pass through your credentials this assumes you're signing in with that account, right? So you sign into Windows with a Microsoft account or with a Microsoft work or school account, it will pass those credentials through. But you have to enable it before that will be available. So I've done that, and I actually haven't noticed it yet because I've already kind of manually signed into all my Microsoft stuff. But this is kind of a neat feature that we take advantage. If you're Microsoft, use Edge, use Windows, you get that by default. Now you can get it in Firefox as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Woof. That was a long...
I'm going to take 15 minutes to go fix all my links.
Mary Jo Foley's links are intact, and she's ready with the Enterprise Pick of the Week.
So all you Windows Server fans out there, and I know you're legion, guess what's happening? September 16th, Windows Server Summit.
Boy.
This is a virtual event. It is Microsoft saying it is your first in-depth look at Windows Server 2022. So if you've been following along with Windows Server, you know that Windows Server 2022 is still in testing right now, even though it's done. It's in the hands of OEMs. People can actually download, what do they call them? Evaluation versions of it. So it's all ready to go. They just haven't rolled it out to the mainstream yet. This date makes me think the mainstream rollout must be imminent, right? So they're going to answer questions, tell you all the latest news and announcements about Windows Server 2022 at this event. So maybe September 16th is the date when they're going to start rolling it out and actually say, ta-da, it's done. I'm not sure. But if you want to register for this, it's free. It's virtual, starts at 10 a.m. Pacific. Just do a search for Windows Server Summit, and you'll come up with the registration page and all the additional information. Now, this makes people wonder, is there going to be a fall Ignite this year? Because I would think Windows Server 2022 would probably be an announcement for fall Ignite. I hear yes, there will be a fall Ignite, a virtual event again, not an in-person event, not a hybrid event. But I don't know exactly when it will be. There have been rumors it will happen sometime in September, maybe October. I don't know. But I think it's interesting that it's likely to be happening yet again this fall. And yet again, sorry, Paul, a virtual event. I know you were hoping for a hybrid event.
He likes to travel. We know that about Paul.
Thanks, Delta variant.
Yep.
How many times have I said that?
I know.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah. That's
okay.
it for pick one.
Okay. That was pick one.
Yeah.
And now?
Pick one.
Pick two.
Pick two, Pier 5. I had never heard of this company before this week, but Microsoft bought a company called Pier 5. They are a WebRTC-based electronic content delivery network. So WebRTC ECDN, if you want to have all your acronyms strung together.
Mm-hmm.
So what are they going to do with this technology? They're going to use it to enhance the live video streaming that's part of Microsoft Teams. Because Peer 5's technology allows you inside the browser to optimize bandwidth usage for line of business applications, which makes sense if you think about where Microsoft is going with live streaming. And you don't have to supposedly don't have to change your network configuration. It'll just automatically work in the browser to help optimize bandwidth usage and help you so that people can automatically scale the number of viewers without noticing a degradation in performance. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. They bought them. They're based in Tel Aviv, founded in 2012. And if you look up the company on the web, they do all the kinds of stuff that Microsoft does. Big data analytics, virtualization, networking. That's where all their expertise is. And so they're going to just integrate them right in with Teams. And that makes sense because if you remember, when was this? 2 years ago when Chris Capossela was on Windows Weekly, when he used to talk about hidden gems. Microsoft has a video streaming service that's connected to Teams called Microsoft Stream, and this is one of the services that this new technology from Peer 5 will be used to optimize. If you were wondering what's going on with Stream, as I was recently, Microsoft last year said they were going to redo the back end for storage for Stream, so that instead of storing videos in Stream, you're going to be storing them in SharePoint and or OneDrive for Business, which makes a lot of sense. Use the assets they already have. And if you're wondering the status of that back-end change for Stream, it's almost done, finally. And they're in the final stages of it, and it should be rolling out to everyone fairly soon in all their tenants on the cloud.
And would you like to turn on sticky keys or
Yes,
not?
I would.
I'm just curious. if you'd like to, I can help you with that.
Is that on my screen?
Yeah. Well, it could be on our screen. Is it on our screen?
I don't think it's on mine.
Oh,
is it?
great.
I was going to say, I don't think that would come
Burke apparently was leaning on the shift key. And,
I'm like, I don't think that's on mine.
oh, great. Oh,
That's
great. Maybe if they drank more non-alcoholic Italian Pilsners, we wouldn't have these problems.
Exactly.
What's your beer pick of the week?
I haven't done a lot of non-alcoholic beer picks, but I get requests for this a lot, especially from people who are gluten-free. Actually, that doesn't make any sense, does it? It's not for people who are gluten-free.
Alcohol does not equal gluten.
People who don't want
But if you're alcohol-free,
but don't care
maybe.
about gluten.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's it.
I'm curious about this alcohol-free lifestyle you're talking about.
Exactly.
No, it's not for you, Paul. Not for you.
It's not for him. Not for him. So this is a beer company I have not heard of up until now called Untitled Arts.
Oh, I thought that meant there was no label.
No.
That's hysterical.
No.
Okay.
I know. Untitled Arts, they're based in Waunakee, Wisconsin, wherever that is.
Yeah.
They make a lot of different non-alcoholic beers.
This is the
that people
non-alcoholic
really
beer
like.
that made Waunakee famous.
Exactly. So, when you hear people, especially on Untappd, talking about non-alcoholic beers, they're usually like, "Yeah, not very good. Doesn't really taste like beer. Doesn't taste like the style they say it is." This one, the non-alcoholic Italian Pilsner, everybody is raving over, and they're saying it really tastes like a Pilsner, like a real genuine Pilsner. And I did a little research into this company, and I'm like, oh, they make a number of non-alcoholic beers that people really like. So I just found out they're now distributing in New York, and they're at my local beer store. So I'm like, I got to go check this out and try one of them myself because I don't love Pilsners. I don't mind non-alcoholic beer, but Pilsner's not my go-to style usually. But so many people said nice things. I know.
Right, this time of year with 90-degree temperatures.
I know. Today, the real feel in New York City is 105.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so it's a good day for a Pilsner if you like
It's a
Pilsners.
good day to run around naked. What?
Is this a good moment to mention that it's 74 degrees here during the day?
Oh, my God.
At night?
No, it's not, Paul. It's not.
Isn't that funny? You'd think if between the two of you, you'd be in the hot spot, Paul, but no.
I know.
No.
What is the actual temperature?
It's in the high 90s.
So-
we're going to have high 90s for the next 3
Oh,
days.
I'm so
here.
sorry. I'm so sorry.
It's tough to be in the city during that time.
Exactly. You don't
It
want to be
is.
that hot in the city. It's
Yeah.
so humid, and
No.
there's this concrete radiates.
I
And
know.
I'm so sorry.
It's like being in a rotisserie chicken. You know?
Yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah, forget cooking an egg on the sidewalk. You can cook the whole chicken on the sidewalk.
You can take cookie dough and cook it on the sidewalk.
Yeah, you can make Dutch oven biscuits out front. I'm sorry, Mary Jo. What is an Italian Pilsner? What is that style? I'm not familiar with. I know what Pilsners are.
German Pilsners.
Yeah.
That's like the kind of like the traditional style.
It's
right?
like Moretti. Moretti's probably an Italian.
Oh, yeah, Moretti.
Yeah, very
Okay,
light.
there you go.
Right, very light, crisp, refreshing.
I like them. This has
Italian beer has come a long way. Like it's seen as very like a very good choice now. It didn't used to always have that reputation, but yeah.
This has some unusual hops: Hallertau, Mittelfrau, and Strata hops. So it's interesting.
What's the downfall here, though? Is it like 500 calories or something? I mean, how does?
Lower alcohol means
probably
lower
very
cal.
light.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably very light, especially because it's a Pilsner. Pilsners are usually on the lighter side, and once the ABV is lower, it's lower in calories too.
Yeah.
So
Wow,
Less than 0.5% alcohol. It's kind of like a kombucha.
I know. I was like, after all the weird beers I've been doing lately with heavy high alcohol content and marshmallows and mango, I'm like, let me do something more.
Actually,
I can't get crocked on this. What are you
is there
talking
anything
about?
weirder than a non-alcoholic beer? Beer?
No, non-alcoholic beers they've been around forever. Remember O'Doul's back in the day? Remember those? Yeah.
Yeah,
they weren't that good.
Those were terrible.
Right, but it gave people
Miller
Pretty much
Lite.
took that into
Oh,
the
no, that's
bathroom and threw it down the drain.
calories.
Yeah.
No, that's actually if I want something light, I'll drink a kombucha because at least it's not.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, they have ciders now, and
I used to
they
drink
do.
ciders,
Yeah.
but the kombucha is even lower. You know, unless it's a hard kombucha.
where's Zima when you need it?
Oh God! How can beer be clear? How?
I don't know. Bleach? I don't know.
Yeah. I do like cider, actually, quite a bit. Ladies and gentlemen, we have concluded this edition, the Mexico City edition of Windows Weekly. Mary Jo Foley remains in the balmy confines of her apartment.
Yeah.
Do you have AC? No.
I do.
Oh,
I do, but I shut it
hallelujah.
off for the show.
Oh, you
right?
don't have to do that.
No, it's
No.
really loud. It's a window unit. It's very loud.
Yeah. It's not going to be any worse than Paul's Mexico City microphone. So I think we'll be.
This is going to be a sore spot for a few weeks for me.
You're still there next week, aren't you?
Well, yes, I'm going to be in a different location, so we'll see. Hopefully, the connection will be good. But I guess I'll just have to do it this way.
If you can't do it, Richard Campbell's standing by.
Okay. Well,
ready to bring his scotch and his bravura
Yes, I'm
performance to our shows.
maybe I'll have Ethernet there. I don't know. We'll see.
Whatever. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm glad you made the effort. Thank you. I know it's a lot harder.
Yeah.
Allaboutmicrosoft.com is Mary Jo's blog. Of course, Paul is at Thurrott.com. The Field Guide to Windows 10 is available at leanpub.com. And, of course, together they make this show happen. Thank you. And you don't know, but Paul, the trip Paul had to get to this program between flat tires and sodden microphones, this was a tough one. So I appreciate your making the effort. Thank you. We really like having you on the show. We do Windows Weekly Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Did I say Tuesdays? I mean Wednesdays, 11.
It was probably on a Tuesday.
At one point, I'm sure it was. We're settled in pretty good here on Wednesdays, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC. That's when we record, and I say that so you can watch us record if you want. There's a live stream. It's the beta version of the show. The live stream, audio or video, at twit.tv/live. People who watch or listen live often chat live at irc.twit.tv. That's our IRC channel. We also have a Discord chat for members of Club Twit, which is at twit.tv/clubtwit if you're interested. If you want to get the show after the fact, a couple of places you can go. There is, of course, a YouTube channel dedicated to Windows Weekly. There's also the website, twit.tv/dubdub for Windows Weekly. And all the shows, all 737 shows are there, going way back. You know, Steve just celebrated the 16th anniversary of Security Now. It's in this year 17. I bet you're something close to that.
It's got to be.
I will check.
I think we keep doing this every once in a while. It's got to be 15-ish.
Yeah, pretty
Actually,
amazing.
we're closing in on it. We must have. started it in late August or early September.
I'm going to twit.tv/WW1, the first show, September 28th, 2006. So your 15th anniversary is next month.
Wow.
So we will celebrate. We'll have a party. I'll bake a cake. I'll bring some peanut butter whiskey. By the way, on Windows Weekly number 1, we were talking about Windows Vista RC1.
Yeah, it wasn't even out yet. Windows XP was still the current version of Windows when we started the show.
And the new Office ribbon.
Yep.
Wow.
And that worked out great. Everyone loves it.
Wow. So we're close to 15 years. Anyway, if you go to the page, you will see a YouTube link there. That's twit.tv/WW. Also links to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Casts, and the RSS link. All of that so you can subscribe in your favorite podcast player. That's probably the easiest way to get the show. Once you subscribe, it just downloads automatically the minute it's available. There's audio or video versions for you. If your podcast client offers reviews, please do leave us a 5-star review. We'd really appreciate that. It helps spread the word about Windows Weekly, the best, I venture to say, Windows show anywhere. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Mary Jo. Tonight, Paul's going to the best restaurant in Central America. Pujol. I hope you have a wonderful time.
I think I'm going to like it.
I am so jealous. That's going to be fun. I want to see pictures on your Instagram.
I can guarantee.
I have a feeling. Why you say, Stephanie, I'm taking a picture. Give me your phone. Is that what happens?
I have it for the duration, pretty much.
Oh, so I don't want to take any pictures. You take them all. Nice. All right. Well, have a great dinner. Mary Jo, please stay cool. And we'll see y'all next week on Windows Weekly. Bye-bye.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you are interested in checking out all things smart home and Internet of Things, then you should check out Smart Tech Today, the podcast I, Micah Sargent, do with my co-host Matthew Casanelli. It's all about the smart home and improving your automations.